thing to do.
Whatever his dreams are, Matt, is this season now for the trophies all about City and United?
I think so. I think so because the two teams we're going to see later. I think most people thought Chelsea would make it a three-horse race, but I just don't see that happening now. I think they're running away with it, and City 34 points from a possible 36.
It's the best Premier League start.
Best Premier League start ever, and they just they've scored 42 goals in 12 games.
And they can score from anywhere, can't they, as well?
And I just think those two teams are dominating. And to be fair, it looked it was going to go that way at the start of the season, and it is absolutely evolving into that kind of title race.
And City have also done it against a backdrop of this internal turmoil, maybe is too strong a word, but certainly this huge sort of controversy with Carlos Tevez.
Yeah,
they've just brushed that off, and they've kept going. I mean, it's amazing start for them.
We're getting a bit tired of the Tevez situation, but I mean, as you say, it's in the background all the time, isn't it?
Well, it is, but
there's a story saying he's coming back to Manchester in 2 days' time or something.
It is in the background all the time, but I think the point is that it hasn't derailed them. I mean, not in the slightest. I mean, it just hasn't.
Is that down to Mancini? I think it is, isn't it?
Well, you have to give Mancini credit for that.
I think the signing of Aguero has made a huge difference.
Yeah.
Obviously, a guy came into the team, he's scoring goals straight away. He is just taking on that mantle. We've got so many other players stepping up to the plate. We already talked about David Silva. What a fantastic season he is having. And everyone else is really sort of rising to the challenge as well. So I think Mancini has got a huge position of power at the moment, whereas this time last year you couldn't imagine him arguing like this with Tevez and Tevez being in this situation. As far as City fans are concerned, he's gone. He's gone. They don't want him anymore. That's it. That's fine. Let's move on. And again, you couldn't have imagined that 12 months ago.
No, you couldn't.
But I was going to say the 6-1 was the thing, though, because I thought Mancini was coming under a little bit of pressure just in going into that game because there were slight inconsistencies in the whole Tevez affair. It seemed that he hadn't actually refused to play. I know it was all kind of semantics, but there were slight holes in Mancini's version of events, and if things had gone against him in that game, I started to fear a little bit for Mancini, but because he went out there and the team won as emphatically as they did, I think suddenly that was it. It was like, right, he's in charge, this guy, we've got to back him. I think the club already were backing him because they wanted to back him, but it was getting messy. You could almost sense there was a strain on Mancini over that whole episode, but the 6-1 has just
lifted the whole thing. Does he keep all the players happy because of the winning? And they're all involved in something big potentially happening, or is it the money as well? I mean, I raised that simply because on what's Friday, wasn't it? 194.9 million debt from last year.
Yeah, but and it's they need to sort it out because obviously UEFA are gonna start giving them a hard time about it. We've seen it before with other clubs. Blackburn won the title with money. I don't think we can hit them with that. Chelsea, but we don't really go on about it now. How successful Mourinho was, and even Ancelotti. Yes, they are doing it with incredible wealth behind them. But I take the point that Ollie made. Mancini, it's not just Tevez. He's got people like Balotelli. If this team win the title, it's a brilliant piece of management because to keep it all together, to keep it working, and it is a proper. Crazy.
The irony in a way is that it would be a tremendous feat of man management if he does it, and yet everybody always says he's a rubbish man manager. But he kind of, in fact, his man management is supposed to be non-existent. I mean, and maybe that's his secret. He kind of.
But I think those comments only come from the disaffected.
There's been quite a few disaffected players over the period he's been the manager, and obviously we've seen quite an evolving sort of nature of the team. A lot of players who were there at the start are now no longer. Craig Bellamy's gone. Couldn't imagine that again a couple of years ago. A few players have moved on.
They've got a good. I think they've got a good management mix, actually, haven't they? I mean, David Platt and Brian Kidd are both much more kind of touchy-feely than Mancini, and much more hands-on maybe than he is. So I mean, they've got a very good man management mix there.
Just how do you mentioned sort out the debt? I mean, how do they do that? They not worry about it because of the wealth behind, but I mean, if there's a new law coming in, they're going to have to do something about it. What do they do about that?
Well, they're kind of trying to. The Etihad deal seems to be the sort of thing they're going to find. They're going to find ways around it, aren't they?
I think financial fair play is going to be quite interesting because I think to a certain extent a lot of clubs will pay lip service to it because as long as you show basically that you're reducing your debts and that you're on the right curve. They talk about this curve. As long as you get the curve in the right direction, you can get there. And I imagine there will be quite a lot of leeway when push comes to shove, because UEFA don't want the big teams not in the competition. So therefore, they'll have to give them leeway. As long as people don't sort of take advantage of it too much, they'll go out and spending money they can't afford. I think as long as you show that curve going in the right direction, you'll be okay.
And they'll get fined, like Ian Ladyman did the story for us yesterday. They'll get fined. Well,
who cares?
Just write a check.
No, exactly.
I mean? Which brings you right back to square one, which is Arsene Wenger, which has been Wenger's big fear all along.
It has.
That the big clubs will just find loopholes in financial fair play.
Exactly. Last word on this: City to stay ahead of United throughout the season in the Premier League. I'm talking about.
They don't look like, given the drama that there's been already and the fact that they've managed to cope with it and keep winning, they just don't look like slipping up, do they? Because they've got two teams. They've got two teams that can finish in the top four.
Are you tipping them for the title at this moment?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? There'll be some twists and turns. Okay.